Hi guys, and welcome to Angling for You. Today John is on the 24-hour catch. We're on the first venue. We're about to start, so we're about to start the time. I'm looking at my watch. I've got 1 minute just past 8. I'll bring that right up to the camera so it can see. We've got 1 minute past 8 o'clock, and obviously today's date, which is the 13th of August. So back down we come down the treacherous peg. So Matt, do you want to tell us a little bit about where we are, because you're the master of the river?
Yep, we're on the River Wharf at Tadcaster today. Unfortunately it's pretty busy. There's probably about a dozen other anglers here, so peg selection is pretty limited, to be honest. Peg that we're fishing today is a double peg. We can both squeeze onto it.
Just
it's clearly been underwater. It is a little bit slippy and a little bit dangerous, as I've already found out. I've just been down the bank once. So you do need to be careful when you're out fishing on these rivers, on these steep banks. But hopefully we'll have a few pulls later on tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to show you a couple of barbel that we get.
Fingers crossed.
Yep.
I mean, what we're going to do is just quickly set up. We'll run you through the rigs, the bait, there's methods of fishing, and then we'll crack on. So see you in a couple of seconds. Right guys, I'm just going to run you quickly through the bait. The guys at Monster Bait's been fantastic. They've sent us an array of pellets which we're going to use throughout these, at least 2 of the sessions obviously, when we get the commercials. But we'll alternate some pellet today, but also meat as well, because that fish as well. But these are going to go into the mix, which will probably be a similar mix that we use for fishing the margins when we go to Lindome. So they've got a couple of, they've got a krillberry and a cheesy pellet, big ass pellets. And about, what size mil are they? It doesn't say, but they're about 10 or 15 mil they are. And then I've got some in seafood as well. So they're just going to keep those to the side. And then I've got a mixture of mini cheesy ones, mini seafood, some tutti fruity ones, some seafood blitz, and there's some sausage ones which will go on that side as well. So they're going to go in with some of the tiger nut and maple, little 3 mil pellets, and a mixture of some of these banana pellets in there. So they're all going to go into this base bait. And I've also got some fishery 6 mils from Oaks. We're going to mix some krill crush through that to make it sort of a ground bait base. I've got a few boilers to throw through there. I've got some seafood blitz flavouring as well that we're going to put in there from Monster Baits. So basically it's going to be a really heavy mix. My approach is going to be a cage feeder. I'm going to have a cage feeder on with all this in it. A big one which we'll go into obviously when we get to there. Matt's doing obviously some different ones, so we're covering the bases. So firstly I'm just going to mix that bait together. I'm going to add obviously some of this seafood blitz into there. I'm not going to be shy with it, and it definitely smells of seafood, that is for sure. So wow, that is seafoody. And I've got a little bit of crab glug as well, which I'm going to add in there because it's quite red. I'm just going to add the rest of that and get rid of that. So I'm just going to mix that down right, sort of just by hand. And then I've got obviously some water out the river, and I'm going to mix it quite, like I said, quite wet, because I just want it to get down to the bottom. I've had quite a lot of rain obviously, and I want it to get down to the bottom, so you can see it's really heavy, but it's also going to soak up out of these pellets and things like that. But it's going to have some hemp to it as well, but also obviously it's going to thin out a little bit when it absorbs. So I've got some fishery pellets here. If Matt's got some scissors, I'll open them, but I'll put some of these in while we've got there. Thanks mate. So in this one I've got some of the Monster Baits banana ones, so I'm going to add sort of just a handful of those, and the same with these tiger nuts. Like I say, what we want them to do is just get attraction going. I'm going for high impact, high flavours, colour. I'm just trying to create something that I know that the barbel will and chub will be attracted to. So I've got some of these 8mm ones as well in there. Let's get a little bit of all these in. Tutti frutti. And just using these multitude things as well, they're all high in flavour. Also means I can play about with the hook baits. So once I've got a selection of those in, just get some of your, I've got some 6mm pellets here. There's no point in messing about with anything smaller than that really. Get a good shake of them. Like I said, this will double up as a bait for tomorrow when we fish down here for the margin. I've got some 6mm boilers which I'm going to throw in there as well. And Matt, has you got a little bit of hemp? Matt's got some hemp, which when he tells you about his rigs, he'll go through how he makes and does that and the benefits of doing that. Matt will go into, I'll leave him to go into all that. So, got this sort of lovely concoction. It smells crazy. Just mix all that in. And as you can see, you can pack that into this, comes into a nice sort of ball. That'll pack nicely into the feeder and release loads of flavour, loads of particles, loads of attraction. So I'll join you in a bit. We'll go through the rig, go through Matt's baits and see what we're doing.
We're just going to talk you through a couple of the rigs that we're using tonight. We are using some fairly different rigs across the different rods. So this is my maggot feeder setup. It's a large Drennan maggot feeder, clips off at the bottom, really nice and quick and easy to fill. It's got a nice elasticated part inside, so that just kind of holds everything back in place. Fishing that to one of the Fox running rigs. So this is called a bolt and run kit, and it can either be used as a free running as it's set up at the moment, or if you were to push that through there, you've got it set up as a bolt effect rig, where if a fish takes it, it'll feel the weight of the lead, if that's what you're using, or the feeder in this case, and hopefully self hook. For me personally, when I'm fishing throughout the day, I do fish it free running. Of an evening, I like to fish it in this bolt rig style setup, so there's more chance of the fish hooking itself while I get myself sorted and to the rod. It does unclip really easy, so it is a safe rig to use. Should you get snagged up, the fish can pull that through quite easily. The bottom end, for the hook link, this is Drennan Suplex fluorocarbon line that I'm using. This one's an 8-pound line, and I'm fishing it to a size 12 hook. I don't know if you can see that on there, with a maggot clip. And on that maggot clip, I'll probably put around 8 maggots, and that essentially is the feeder setup. Right, we're just going to talk you through one of the rigs that Ben is using here. We're using a carp. It's actually a multi-feeder, this, quite handy. So they do come with a cap that fits on the top and bottom, and that can actually be used as a maggot feeder, or as we're going to use it today, like a cage feeder. Again, fishing it with the same running rig as we are on the other line. In fact, all 4 rigs that we're using today are using that same setup. So you can see kind of how easy it is to fish it in slightly different styles. You can clip a lead on there, or different types of feeders should you wish. In terms of the bottom end, again, we're fishing a fluorocarbon. This is a 10-pound fluorocarbon that we're fishing on here. Again, it's Drennan Suplex, down to a size 10 hook with a quick stop. And this is what Ben's going to be using. He's going to be filling the feeder with his pellet mix, and then quick stopping a piece of garlic luncheon meat. Just in terms of the other rigs that we're going to be using, we're both going to be using a straight lead rig on the other ones. In terms of baits, I'm going to be fishing one line with a straight lead, just with a single piece of meat, just hair rigged on, which I'm going to be fishing over a bed of hemp, and on the other one I'm just going to be fishing maggot. So in terms of my baits, I'm keeping it fairly natural. I was telling Ben on the way here today that I've fished a lot more with pellet this season, and I don't think I've had more success this year than I did last. So I am trying to kind of go back to basics, trying some of those techniques that I was using a lot more last year, in a hope that I put a few more fish on the bank this season.
Right guys, we've we've got the rods in. It's obviously, as you can see, they're slightly getting darker. We've been fishing half an hour, Matt?
Yep.
Something like that. We're just, Matt's gonna I'm gonna put him onto you because he's the river master, but just go a little bit into about the timer, Matt, what you were on about with setting a timer.
Yeah, so what I like to do is recast fairly regular, especially when the water level's up. So I just use a timer on my phone, set it for 15 or 20 minutes or so, and that's a nice little reminder that you need to cast out, get a little bit more bait introduced into your swim.
And it's important, really, isn't it? A lot of people we see, even in commercials, fail because they just don't put enough bait in, or they don't bait, or they don't. Fish are impulsive, and we've just seen a 2-foot rat just come behind the peg there. But yeah, fish are impulsive, and certainly in commercials, they're attracted to the noise of bait and the flavour of bait.
Yeah. And also as well, when you're on the river and the river levels are up, it does wash a lot of stuff downstream. You get a lot more weed coming down, you know, branches, leaves, etc. And the last thing that you want is to be sat there for a couple of hours and actually you've got a branch or a twig or something attached to your hook length and you've got literally no chance of catching. So another reason why you recast fairly regularly is just to make sure that you haven't got that situation and that scenario.
Yeah, so like I say, we've probably going to go till about 1-2 o'clock, weather depending, so we'll keep you updated as we go along, and like I say, it's a marathon, not a sprint, certainly in this stage, and we'll keep you updated, guys. So Matt's into the first fish of the session, and I'm just going to get the net for him. We don't think it's a barbel, we think it's a chub. Just
this is on the maggot feeder with a big bunch of maggots on a maggot clip. It certainly doesn't feel like a big fish. Couldn't quite see what it was though. Whether it was a barbel or whether it's a chub. And it is a little barbel.
Oh, and he's in the net. Well, that's the first fish, so we'll take that all day long. I'll just hold this so Matt can grab the net, and then I'll try and get a little bit. We're doing a little bit of sketchy footage here because we're the main camera can't really see, so we don't need to weigh that. We know that's probably about what, £1.5, £2.
Yeah, £2 tops.
But it's a fish. So we have kicked off. We're on about 10:30, Matt.
Yep.
So we've got a few hours before we're thinking of staying until 2 o'clock. So that's positive that we've got it. It
seems to have plenty of life left in him, this one, but we will just let him have a rest for a minute or two. It's important when you're catching barbel in the river that you do let them have a bit of a rest. See it so often where you get one and you put it in the net and it will literally turn belly up. And if you were to just release it in the river, there's a strong probability that it would die. This one seems to have lots of life left in him still. He's thrashing about in the net. Certainly not going belly up at all. I'll just give him a minute or so before we set him free.
Like I said, Matt, it's we've had to wait a little bit. Fingers crossed there's going to be some bit bigger ones, but at least we've had a fish, and that's what's the main thing is, and the challenge is on. It's a £2 one to start, and hopefully we're going to get a little bit bigger than that moving forward.
Just going to let him go now, see if we can see him swimming away there.
There we go. And what again was that on, Matt?
That was on the maggot. So it was maggot feeder with a maggot clip on with around 8 to 10 maggots just looped on.
Happy days. Fingers crossed we'll have some more. Just going to put it on just in case. Focus.
Can't actually see it. It is bouncing the switch. There we go. No, I think that will just pull through. Oh no, it's still on.
So Matt's into another fish. Again, that's pretty much straight away on the spot where he was before. Does it feel a better stamp?
It does feel slightly better. I'd be surprised if it's £5. it does feel like a slightly better fighting fish than the last one. But having said that, that last one was really strange. You know, it kind of swam straight towards me. It didn't feel like I'd got a fish on until it was literally under my feet. Yeah, it's another small barbel. Ooh, now seem to have hit a snag just here.
We are fishing quite a precarious sort of area. Just lifted it out of it. Well done, mate. Oh, and he's in the net. Well done, that man.
Thank you.
Just gonna get across, try and get a better angle. It is quite a precarious peg, guys, for filming, and so again, that was no more than 2 minutes. That is literally no more than 2 minutes. That, Matt, was it?
No, not at all.
That's another little beautiful fish. So we're close to the actual £5 in total mark, I would say, with those two fish, but not actually for one. So we're still on the journey where there's been two. Fingers crossed there's another one.
Again, we'll just give this one a little bit of time to recover. The smaller fish don't tend to feel it as much as the big ones. The bigger fish literally will put all the heart and soul into the battle. These smaller ones I just don't think have the power to be able to do that. But as you can see, while he's in the net there, you know, he's plenty alive.
What we're going to do once we let this through, Matt's just going to show you how to put the maggots on a maggot clip. So that's just something that I personally don't come across very often, because obviously I fish a lot of commercials. River fishing is quite new to me, so we're just going to share that piece of information with you, and fingers crossed that'll produce a little bit bigger one.
I'm just going to set this one free. From underneath him.
Oh. Away he goes, straight under that snag. Well done, matey. Right, so Matt's just going to go through the maggot clip and how that works.
So yeah, it's a little bit bent actually from that last fish that we've just had, but essentially it's on a hair rig. Maggot clip sits right to the bottom of your hook. You unclip it just by pushing it in, and then literally feed as many maggots onto this as you want. I mean, you could probably get 15 or 20 maggots on here if you wanted, and you just hook them like you would if you were putting them on a normal hook. You know, you just try and nick it right in the edge of the maggot between the two little eyes there.
You just particularly just go for a wedge of them rather than any particular number, just full.
Yep. I mean, what you find with a barbel, they haven't got particularly great eyesight. They do feed by feel. You know, they'll be scouring around across the bottom. They'll come across a big bunch of maggots like this and wolf them straight down. You could always hook them, you know, straight direct onto your hook. I have done that a lot in the past and had probably just as much success. But I just quite like this way. You know, you can actually kind of spread them out if you wish. You don't have to be all clumped in together. You can push them around like that. And I like to use sort of 8 or 10 at any given time, and you've just got a lot more space than you would have if you were trying to stick them all onto that hook. You know, that's a size 10, possibly size 12 hook. So yeah, that's how I go about it.
Happy days. Just had another little touch on Matt's rod. Nothing since I lost that last one, but we have seen fish splashing out there. Whether they're chub or smaller fish, we don't know, but every of the two that Matt's caught, they've both been from that sort of area. So he's just dropped, he's obviously got the maggot feeder there, but he's also just put a ledgered meat at the other side of it, so it's around there, so potentially if there's anything really big they might just take a chunk of meat. But we did see the tip just went a little bit, and then again, look, it's Just a few clicks. That might be a bit of weed, or it might be a fish. We did get a few little indications like that on both the others before it went last time, didn't we, Matt?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And then it sort of just hammered it. So fingers crossed. Unfortunately, the one that I lost felt like quite a decent fish. Just lost the hook and probably got his head buried in some weed. It's a bit of my inexperience, I think, of not trying to get away from the snag quick enough. But it did feel an half decent fish, so I'm hoping that wasn't his only opportunity. There's still a couple of hours at least left, so we remain positive. Fish. I need to weigh it.
Yeah, well, leave it in net. We should be able to net this one in with it.
Right, guys, we have a bit mental here. We've missed my fish. I've got it in the net. Matt's just hooked something quite decent as well. We've definitely broken the 5 pound barrier with the fish that I've got in the net at the moment. Unfortunately, we didn't get the footage because it were a bit hectic, but we'll get Matt's in hopefully, and we'll get them both shown.
Got another 5 pounder there, mate.
Right, guys, so a bit behind here, but we've got two clonkers in the net, straight one after each other. So we're just going to get these turned round and we'll get this video.
So we've just got the wasteling on here, which we're just about to zero.
Sorry for the hectic footage, guys. My rod's gone. I've got a fish in the net, which we believe is well over 5 pound. Then Matt's rod's just gone at the same time, and we've got that in the net. So that were a bit mental because I just had to build another landing net. So you can see Matt zeroed the scales at 0 with the sling. So let's get this fish weighed. Can't believe this, Matt. This is crazy. So that's 4 fish we've had tonight. 2 around 2 pound, and then obviously these 2 beautiful fish that Matt's getting now. So he's got the weigh sling just for obviously for fish care, and we'll see what she goes. So she's zeroed out. Oh yes, well done, Matthew. Brilliant. So that's Matt's at £7.11. That's a fantastic fish. We're going to stop that now, and I'm just going to get some photos of it, and then we'll go on to my. Right, guys, so Matt's lifting my fish up now. So we've already beaten the first record that we needed with £7.11. So we've beaten the £5 marker by a good way, and Matt's getting my very lively barbel out. He's going to weigh that. And again, we've zeroed the scales, and then I will have a nice little photo with that as well. So I'm just going to step up. Oh, £6.13. So I've beat it in as well. So that's fantastic. As long as one of us and now both of us have done it. So happy days as well. So that's 2 fish. And we'll do a little bit of a sign off in a second. Sorry about the footage, we're a bit crazy and we missed mine, but we've got Matt's on and we've got the fish, so that's the main thing. Right, guys, so we've done it, believe it or not. Pretty mad session. Matt had started off having 2 around 2 pound. I then had one which I thought was quite decent and lost it, unfortunately. And then we had a joke earlier on. I'd been throwing in some of the ground bait that we showed you, and I just said to Matt, there must be one down here by now. Flicked out within 5-10 minutes.
Yep.
Bang, she were off. Unfortunately, we didn't get that one on film. It were a bit mental, slipping around in the mud, trying to get to the landing net and everything. But obviously, you've seen the weigh-in, £6 odd, I can't remember.
Yep.
But it's but £6 odd for mine. And then Matt, straight away, I had to build another landing net because Matt hooked one on the meat. And what was yours, Matt?
7 something.
7.11, I think. Yeah. So
two decent fish. To be fair, for the wharf, you know, that is a decent stamper fish. Your average stamper fish is probably £3 or £4. You do get plenty sort of into £7 and £8, but when they get much bigger than that, they do become very rare on the wharf. Doubles are very, very rare.
So I mean, it's about 1:30 now, so we're about what 6.5 hours in, something like that.
Yep.
So we're hitting early doors, 4:30, 5 o'clock. I think Matt's going for me about 5. We're going to head to the
Aaron Calder Navigation Canal. Yep. There's a few spots down there that we're going to give a go. We're going to start off at Boatyard at Nottingley and see how we get on there. If we don't do any good, we're going to move to a little spot that we call Amphitheatre, which is again in Nottingley. And if we don't have any success there, there's a stretch in Castleford that we can do for Lockside Angling Club owned stretch just down there.
Happy day. So we've got, technically it is today that we're finishing the challenge because it's obviously in the early hours of the morning, but we've got till 8 o'clock tonight to get these next 2 challenges done. So join us early doors in the morning on the canal. Obviously we had a very good session last night. It
turned out nicely,
didn't it? Kept us on the edge a little bit, but we managed to snag 2 fish over £5, which obviously smashed us. Targeted just 1 fish over £5, both of them, as you saw on video, coming straight on the same time. So today, where are we, Matt?
We're at Nottingley, at the Boatyard, fishing on the Aaron Calder Navigation. It's a pretty deep stretch of canal down here, probably got about 12 foot of water directly in front of us. It is a really good winter spot, is this. Generally speaking, there's plenty of silvers in this sort of area. See lots of matchmen down here, and we're really good nets of silverfish. And of course, wherever there's a silverfish, there's the pike nearby as well. So yeah, I had quite a few pike out of this stretch in the past. Probably one of my favourite haunts, to be fair, when it comes to pike fishing.
So fingers crossed, really, isn't it? We've got 4 rods set up.
Yep.
So we'll get into those in a little bit. Fingers crossed, we have one. It's about 6:30 in the morning now, so we got here around 5:30ish. So we've just been obviously set up and get everything in the water. Fingers crossed, there'll be one to show you fingers soon, hopefully.
Weather's not so great this morning, not for us, probably ideal actually for the pike, to be fair. It is pretty overcast still. Woke up to heavy rain first thing this morning. We're quite fortunate really that wasn't last night, because that had a ruined last night's session. I mentioned last night that Tadcaster's particularly bad on the banks. They are steep banks, they are really muddy banks, and yeah, if we'd have had that rain last night, it'd have probably made that peg unfishable. So
you nearly went in.
Yeah.
When we started, that ice slipped. When we started, we both had a few Bambi on ice moments through the night. Yeah, it's just been a nightmare today, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean, the plan is, fingers crossed, to catch a fish. Realistically, I think we've got until 4 o'clock-ish.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then we'll head off to Lindown. Fingers crossed we'll catch one before that. We can get an earlier start at Lindown. But yeah, that's the plan. Weather's not looking too great, like Matt says, for the whole day. A bit murky and a bit grim, but we still feel hopeful. And hopefully we'll catch you in a bit where we have one, or we'll run through the tackle. Alright guys. Matt's into the first fish of the day. Fingers crossed it's the target weight.
Yeah, it certainly feels it. Do us a favour and grab us the landing. So this fish has taken a lentured roach deadbait. It's actually the first cast that we have. Yeah, it's a nice fish.
bigger than what we need. Get that bad boy in, Matty. Matty's tail walking. Whoa! That could be challenge completed. Good sized fish.
Right, so we've just got this pike on the bank. Unfortunately, once we got it in the net, it did thrash around a little bit, and one of the trebles was loose. So a good bit of advice that I've got for you is to always have a pair of wire snips available. So what I've done, you can see just here, I have actually snipped that treble that was caught in the net. You know, you can do some real damage to the fish if it does get caught up in your net and it's still thrashing around. And equally dangerous for you as an angler as well when you're trying to get your hand in there and trying to get the fish out safely. I'll show you the gear that I'm using for unhooking. It's just a pair of long nose pliers. And to unhook the fish, I'm just going to go in under the gill plate just here. The fish will hopefully open its mouth for us. Right, see in there where the hook is. Just turn this around for you. He's not playing ball, he doesn't want to open up. Sometimes that does happen, you know, and it's difficult to keep your hand underneath the jaw safely if the fish is thrashing around. I've got a much firmer grip of it now, so hopefully we'll be able to get this hook out safely without too much interference. It is hooked reasonably deep in the mouth. There we go. We've got that. We'll do our utmost to not damage any of its teeth. They have got really quite sensitive teeth. There we are. There's the fish. So if I'm hazarding a guess at weight, I would say probably about 6 poundish. But we've got the weigh sling just here, the scales ready, so we'll get him in there.
So what we want is £5 or above, guys, so fingers crossed we'll have that. That's just gonna, the scale's already zeroed, so
may need to scroll upwards.
That's not a bad guess, Matt. And we're coming in and you can see we're over £6, 6.4, so that's absolutely spot on. That's put us firmly on track with 2 out of 2, Matt, and we've 2 out of 2'd it on the 2 that we thought were going to be the most difficult, which is brilliant, really. So obviously Matt's going to show you how safely to return pike. The reason being is a lot of people think because it's a predatory fish, it's hardy and you know you can throw it about, but that's just not the case, is it, Matt?
No, they're a very sensitive fish. You know, they do put an awful lot of energy into the fight. And similar to the barbel, you know, they need a little bit of time to rest and just make sure that they're fit and healthy. So we're just going to lower him back into the water and just give him a little bit of time to recover.
See, and this part's so important because, you know, there's a good chance if we'd have put that fish back, it could have died quite easily. With Matt obviously putting some oxygen through, moving around, flipping him on back the right way up, and spending that little bit of time respecting, you know, these beautiful fish, is going to swim off, you know, perfectly. Just sat now, just in that net, and he's right way up, and he's away. Wonderful. Right, so Matt's completed the challenge for us with just over 6.4.
Yep.
Which obviously is a great fish. So we've decided, because it's still moderately early, we're on 7:30 now. we're just going to give it another maybe hour or so and see if we can have any more fish. Obviously for camera that would be beneficial. If not, we'll do the talk through the other rigs anyway, and then we'll tell you where we're going and what we're going to do next. So we'll catch up with you soon. Right guys, what we're going to do is Matt's just going to go and talk you through these couple of rigs, and then we're going to move potentially to another stretch just for maybe an hour or so to see if we can pick anything up. Just bring you up to the phone. It is, as you can see, the day after. We've just gone 9 o'clock on Wednesday the 14th. Obviously we started at 8 o'clock at night yesterday on the 13th. So we've got still till 8 o'clock tonight to catch the double figure. We've obviously completed this challenge. We just know that when we go to Lindholm it's going to be down the edge for these big fish, so we know that that's going to have to be later on, so we might as well stick out here and see if we can have another fish before we think about that, because they're not going to be down there until later anyway. So I'll just turn the camera around and we'll have a look at Matt's rig.
Hi, right, I'm just going to talk you through this setup. This is one of my favourite float setups. It's called the Paternoster rig. It's particularly good when you're using a live bait because it allows the fish to be set at a certain depth in the water, but to not swim away from where you're actually fishing, so the lead will hold it in place. So I'll talk you through the rig and how we go about setting it up and the different component parts. Right down at the bottom end, I've just got a standard 2-ounce lead. You can use any sort of weight for holding it down to the bottom. What is really important with this rig is that you use a really light hook link or some old line, something that will break really easy under strain, because what you do find with this rig is that once you've actually hooked into a fish, this will always be dangling below and quite often can be prone to getting stuck in snags. So what you want is that releasing off, and as you can see just there, I've given it the slightest tug and it's broken off. I use this as an 010, just normal hook link. And yeah, like I say, it's really nice and light. I don't mind losing a lead if it means not losing a fish and fishing safely. So just above that, I have it attached to just a normal swivel, a little rubber bead that I've got on there, or you can use some sort of buffer bead just to stop this drilled bullet from damaging your knot. So the drilled bullet again is something that helps to keep the entire rig stable and stop your bait, whether it be a live bait or a dead bait, from moving too far. This rig is really quite effective on rivers where you've got some flowing water, because what you'll see is it's almost like a helicopter rig is the setup. So that's free running. Your fish can move around in the water, so in a river situation you'd have your float steady and your fish would actually be trailing behind, almost looking like, you know, it's swimming or moving, etc. So it is particularly effective if you're using a dead bait on rivers. It's not so effective on canals or still waters, because what you find then is that your dead bait actually dangles down. You don't want it dangling too near your main line, because obviously if you do get a take, there's a probability or even a possibility that it's going to catch your main line or catch your line onto your lead. So just moving up the rig a touch, I have these rubber stops set, and you can set these literally at any distance that you want up and down the line. So that allows you to adjust the depth at which your bait is actually being offered. So moving up even further to the top set of rubbers. So on this particular rig we've got it set so that it's actually going to be about 3 or 4 foot from the bottom. And again, you know, through the session you might well want to move that up. Here where we're fishing today on the Aaron Calder, it is a deep section of water. We've got a good 10 or 12 foot, so you know you can actually really easily move this up and down, adjust exactly where you're fishing, still allowing the bait that freedom of movement, but yeah, without having to adjust the rig. And then just right at the top end of the rig, you see that, just another rubber float stop. Now what's really quite important with this rig is that you do set it at dead depth. So once you've got your lead, you know, it hits the deck, you need to be winding down and just making sure that wherever you're setting this top rubber your float is literally at dead depth. What you'll then find is that you'll have a perfectly straight line running all the way down to the deck where your lead is holding it fixed on the bottom, and then that's leaving your hook bait free to move around as you want without disturbing your float at the top too much. If you get a take then that actually lifts your bait upwards, you know, the pike moves up in the water, your float's actually going to pop up because it's no longer being held down by the weight that you've got on the deck. Or adversely, you know, if it swims away or moves down in the water, it's going to sink your float and you'll know that you've got a bite. So for me, it's a really effective rig. It's not the most simple rig to set up, and in all fairness, it's not the most simple rig to fish with. It is prone to tangles. You know, obviously when you're casting and whatnot, you do have to be really careful that the two lines that you've got here are separated, and it's quite important that you don't use too long a trace as well. The longer the trace, the more prone to tangles it's actually going to be. So yeah, that's the paternoster rig. Obviously there's plenty of guides available online if you want to read up and see how to set it up. That's the way that I've done it, which is pretty conventional, to be fair. Just going to grab Ben's rod and I'll talk you through a bit more simple, more basic, easy to set up float rig. So I'll start from the top on this one actually and work down. So Ben's using a Pike Pro sliding float, great style of float. On the top, it's just held in actually by a shot. You can either use shots or float rubbers, whatever you feel comfortable using. They're both equally as effective. We've got about a foot of line just there, and that's so that you can actually kind of set that so that the float, you'll have it slightly cocked, and again if you get a bite that's moving up in the water, you'll see your float tip to the side. There'll be literally no weight holding it because the pike will have lifted the lead that's holding it down on the deck. And equally if you get a bite the way it swims down or away, you're going to see your float moving to the side, diving under, etc. Again, down towards the bottom end we've got another drilled bullet. Not that necessary, to be fair, when you're using a dead bait. We were intending to use some live baits today, and it is a lot more important when you are using a live bait because you do want to keep the fish in a similar sort of area to where you're fishing, because if you don't, it's going to be looking to see where it can get you snagged up, it's going to be looking for cover, it's going to be trying to head into the reeds, etc. Again on this one we've got a little buffer bead just to stop that drilled bullet from doing any damage to the line that's attached to the swivel that's just under there, with a quick link connection to it. And I think this is a pre-tied trace that you're using here, Ben.
Yeah, there's a guy on Facebook that does handmade ones, yeah.
Very good. So it's a standard double treble hook we're using here. It's a wire coated trace that's on here, probably about size 10 or perhaps size 8 trebles that's being used in there. In this instance we've hooked it just near the head where it's nice and firm. We've got some bone in there, and then towards the tail, actually coming through the other side of the tail, and again it's gone right through the bone there, so it's going to hold that nice and firm. Theoretically the pike is going to take that head first, you know, it's going to have it like that, and depending on how deep it takes it in, it's going to get either one or two of those hooks in its mouth. So when it takes off and you tighten up and set into the fish, you're going to get a good hook hold. So that's a bit more of a simple rig, a little easier to set up than the paternoster rig. Definitely a little bit easier to fish with as well, a lot less prone to tangles. Again, really easy to change the depth at which you're fishing. You know, this one you just move those shot around, or if you had rubber beads on, you could slide your rubber beads up and down. So you're either fishing, you know, dead depth right on the bottom, or even up in the water. It is good when you're fishing a session to try different depths. You know, the pike can't always be found at the same place, particularly in the winter months. You know, they do like to be a little bit lower down in the water, but in the summer months they are a lot more active. you know, they will move up in the water, and we've actually seen pike swimming, you know, right near the surface today. So yeah, hopefully that's provided you with a little bit of insight on how you might want to go about setting up a float rig for trying a bit of pike fishing. Definitely a fish. There you go. Yeah.
And we're in. I'll get mine really big. Doesn't feel like a fish. Camera's on.
Again, this one has come to alleged roach deadbait. It's not a big fish, this one, it's just a little jack.
Yeah. Take him to the net and turn the camera angle round for you. Yeah, he's not far off fine.
Oh, it's going to be getting close. So there's the fish. This one was caught on a alleged roach. Very doubtful that it'll be £5, but it could be 4-ish. I don't know if it's worth getting scales for it. No. Right, what I'm going to do with this
I'd give it £4, mate.
Yeah. I'm just going to return this one to the water. Whoa, he's alive and he's gone.
He's ready to go.
I would normally look to hold onto the tail and just make sure that they're alive and kicking before releasing it. It's a good idea to give them a little bit of time to rest. But clearly that guy wanted to be away. Seems like now's a good time to show you this rig. We've just had that small pike on it, which we think was less than £5. We didn't bother weighing it because we know that we've already had one that's in excess of that. So yeah, I'm just going to talk you through the rig that I've been using. This rig is super simple, not a lot to it. It is literally a free running lead. The kit that I use to connect it is a safe clip. I'm just going to pull that sleeve up so that you can see how that works. Yeah. I don't know if you can zoom right in on that. Can you see just how that clips in and out? That plastic clip will break under 4 to 6 pound of line strain. So if this rig happens to get fast anywhere, fish pulls on it, it's going to snap that lead straight off and it's just going to leave the plastic ring running on there. Simple buffer bead going to our swivel, which is attached to our wire trace. This wire trace is a braid coated trace, just down to a pair of trebles. These are a size 8 treble that I'm using on here. And you can see, I don't know if you've seen any of the earlier videos where we were tying them on, I've actually moved to using crimps, wire crimps, and I feel that that actually just allows a lot more movement on the hook than having it tied onto your line. So it just allows that to move about a lot more freely, that bottom hook, that first hook, and ideally that's the hook that you want to be setting into the fish. That's the hook that you're going to set near the your bait's head. And that should be the way that the pike would always take the fish in first. So in an ideal situation, that's the hook that you want sunk into the scissors of the fish. So that's it. a super simple rig. You know, you can get this set up for, you know, literally a few pound. You don't need to use safety clips. You can use a standard swivel and it works just as well. I just like to have that for added comfort, knowing that if I get in a snag, that's one thing that's going to give way. So that's it.
What about, we just had an interesting sort of take on it first, didn't we, the fish?
Yeah, we did. So we've actually come down to the canal just with really minimal gear. I haven't brought the alarms down here with me. So literally we just got the rod set up. It was pulled tight was the line. Theory behind that, you know, if I see that line go slack, I know that I've had a bit of a drop back bite, and if the line pulls tight, I've got the bait runner on and I'd actually be able to hear the reel clicking. So the first little take that we had on it, it clicked maybe 4 or 5 times, so only taking a real small amount of line, possibly up to sort of a foot or so. So slowly wound down to it just to see if I could feel the fish. And at that point, you know, had I been able to feel that fish, I would have just tightened up into it, not struck really hard, just tightened up into it, and that would, you know, that should have set the hooks. In that instance, I couldn't feel that there was a fish on it, so I actually left it there. And quite often, you will find that the pike will come along, it'll have a go at your bait, you'll miss a bite or whatever. Leave that bait where it is, or if you've taken it out, put it back in where it was. The fish will still be there, it'll still be feeding, and it'll come and have another go. And that's exactly what happened in this scenario just here. So, you know, we left it out. It was out probably for maybe another minute or so, and again we'd got some clicking on the line. This time when I tightened into it, I could feel that the fish was there, so I reeled into it, and sure enough, you know, it hooked into the fish. So just a little tip for you, you know, if you get a bite like that, don't feel that you've got to wind straight back in. Leave it out there. You know, it's still going to be in that same sort of vicinity as where your bait is. You know, that fish is still going to be hungry, and it's still going to be looking for feed. There we go. So we've just had a take on the Paternos to float rig with a dead bait roach. It isn't hooked, but like we talked about a little bit earlier, just leaving that float in the water, 9 times out of 10 that pike will actually come back and it will have another pop at it. So we'll just have to keep a close eye and just see what happens. Yeah, so sitting in this sort of position is a really good way of being able to control the fish when you're unhooking it. Get your hands in just underneath the gills just here, being careful that you don't put them too deep inside the fish's mouth. There are gill rakers in there, and if you put your fingers right inside, you're going to be in amongst the teeth, and that's not a place where you want to be. But that is an ideal position for you to be in, to be able to actually get your pliers in, get the hooks, take the hooks out. Like I say, we were really fortunate with this one. It was caught just in the scissors, which is perfect. You know, and that makes it really nice and easy to unhook. And that tells you that in actual fact, you've hit that fish at the right time. You know, it's not swallowed the bait right deep down, you know, and it's not been down there for ages chewing on it. Because that's when you get a real bad situation, when it's deep hooked, you know, and it can potentially be down in the fish's stomach. So definitely a situation you want to try and avoid.
I mean, so as you can see, Matt's obviously unhooked this one for me. I've unhooked pike in the past, but Matt's obviously done it tons. It makes total sense for him to explain it. and to show you, I'm going to just flip onto the normal phone and just get a photo with it. But I would have said definitely over £5, Matt.
Yep,
we don't. I don't think we need to weigh it because we've already achieved, but it's definitely over £5. That definitely.
Yep, without a doubt.
Yep. So we'll see you in a couple of seconds.
This fish has been resting for a couple of minutes now. He is starting to show some signs that he wants to be on his way. As you can see, he's starting to move around somewhat. What's a real good thing to do? You can just hold on to the tail, get the underside of the fish, release him out of the net, he says. Sometimes a little bit easier said than done. There we go, the net's out of the way there, and he's away.
Right guys, obviously the move paid off.
It did.
Obviously Matt's had a fish here and over the other side. First one being £6 odd,
yeah,
6.4. We didn't weigh the second one because we knew that it was around £4 and we'd already done the challenge. But what, as Matt's just mentioned, obviously I've just had that one, which again we haven't weighed it, but with this definitely over £5. We know that, but yep. Again we've already done the challenge, so it wasn't necessary to run back to the van. But we've both achieving the challenge. We're doing it as a team, but as Matt said, we've both had an over £5 barbel last night.
Yep.
We've both had an over £5 pike today. So
challenge for this afternoon. Both get a double figure carp, and we will have nailed this.
I know, and that will be pretty mega. So I'm looking at the time now. We are 11:58. I will show you that on the watch. Let's get the watch on. So that's 11:58, and so we've really pretty much just got 8 hours.
Yep.
So 8 hours to catch a double figure fish. We're going to go and reconvene, take the gear back, charge the camera, and set off to Linda. We aim to be there 4-ish, maybe a little bit earlier.
Yep.
His target is locos.
Yep, we're going to fish loco. The intention is to do a little bit of margin fishing. It's a notoriously good lake for big margin fish. So yeah, hopefully we're gonna catch some big fish this afternoon, and we'll get you some good footage.
Yeah, Matt's gonna take a margin pole approach, which we'll go through when we're there, and I'm gonna take a waggler approach. Again, I'm using the stick float I've used today, but it's like a pole presentation. Obviously that's why I like it, but we can just lower that down the edge. I know there's some stupid fish in there, and I quite fancy if I hook them I can get them out and let them go into open water and soar off. That's the plan. Whether it comes, because we've literally achieved the two things we knew would be the most difficult.
Yeah. Hopefully we haven't jinxed things.
Yeah. But if anything, we've still caught 2 size, and we're going to catch some carp this afternoon regardless.
We are.
So fingers crossed, and we will see you on the way to Linda. Hi guys, we're at Lindham Lakes, which means we're on the 3rd challenge. We've made it here.
Yep, final leg.
It's been a long day-ish, 24 hours, hasn't it? But we're going to go through really what we're here to do. As you all know, we're here to catch a double figure fish, or try to catch a double figure fish. We've got 2 different approaches. I'll go quickly into my baits, and then Matt can go into his bait, and then we'll have a look through my rig. But I've got the krill crush from Sono Baits, and that's my base. I've got Lindholm's Fishery Micros, Lindholm's Fishery 6 mils, hemp and corn all in that. Mixed a bit of crab glug Sono Baits into that as well. And when we've got a selection of hook baits, so I've made paste out of the crush mixture, so that's there to fish over the top for me. I've got that, I've got corn, and I've got the pellets that you saw from Monster Baits the other day. I've also got some of those to try down the edge as well.
I have to say that your ground bait is smelling a little bit more potent than mine.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
No, it's not good.
It's quite heavily mixed as well. Plenty of water. Want it to sink straight down to the bottom.
Yeah. Similar approach really in terms of the overwet ground bait. I'm using a Sonu Bait Super Crush. This is a margin carp. It's actually new. It's one that I've not used previously, so looking forward to giving that a try. Seeing the mix, all I've got in mind is a few dead reds. We've probably got half a pint also mixed in with that, and I am going to wet this down a little bit more. I want it slightly heavier than what it is at the moment. I want to make sure that it's, you know, getting down to the deck and staying down there. Approach that I'm going to be taking is on the margin. So to my left I've got a top 2+1 line that I'm going to be fishing dead reds over this ground bait, and to my right I've got a top 2+2 line that I'm going to be using hemp. So that's going to be my feed, and over the top of that I'm going to be fishing sweet corn and probably loose feeding a little bit of sweet corn in too. Just in terms of the hemp, this is quite an expensive bait to buy if you're buying it direct from the shops, particularly cooked hemp. And actually it is really easy to prepare yourself, and a good way of doing that is to actually do it in flasks. I've got a couple of 1.5 2 litre flasks, and literally all I do is I put the dried hemp into the flasks, about 3/4 full with hemp, pour boiling water in, screw your lid on nice and tight, leave it overnight, and when you wake up in the morning you've got nice fresh hemp. If any of you have ever cooked hemp at home on a stove, you'll know it doesn't smell great, and if any of you have got wives and girlfriends, I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't be happy about that situation, because it really does stink the entire house out.
Does that.
And it takes hours sometimes as well. So yeah, I mean, to do that pot has probably cost me, I bought a big sack of hemp, and there's probably about £3 worth in there. To buy that same sort of quantity, I mean, it was full actually earlier.
Over a tenner, easy.
Yeah, it'd have been £10 for a jar that'd have been that big. So yeah, slightly different approaches. I'm going to be tackling it with the pole. Ben's going to be attacking it with the rod, and we're here to catch some doubles. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
And yeah, I'll flick to my setup, and then we'll go over to Matt's peg and see what his setup looks like and what he's fishing with. Right guys, my setup is quite simple. I've got a 12-foot Daiwa Yank and Bank pellet waggler rod. I've got a 3000 Ninja reel. I've got 8-pound Daiwa hypersensor. Where it's a bit different is I've got a stick float on it, and I know there was a bit of controversy that I fished this the other day on one of my other videos. Now, the reason I use it on a stick float, I want a sort of presentation a bit like a pole, so it's in line, and then it's sort of giving that same indication. We've got a lot of tow, we've got a lot of wind pulling into this corner. I want something that's going to be stable, so obviously I know that is a very stable. So I've got that down to a hook link of 020 Gen Pro line, and that hook link is about 18 inches long. I've got a little number 8 slot about 4 or 5 inches from the hook, which is a KKMB size 14, and then I've got 2 dropper shots, which are number 4s, just down the line, and that's purely just to sink, cock the float using the paste. If I'll be fishing probably double corn or something like that later on, or a pellet, that'll bring the float down as well. So I'm just going to give it a go and see if we can catch something. So guys, I'm just going to talk you through the rig setup that I'm using here.
Any of you guys that know me will know I've not done a lot of commercial fishing at all this year, so I really didn't have much terminal tackle sorted out. So Ben's kind of offered to make me up a couple of rigs using some of the ProGen gear. So it's the first time that I've used this. I'll talk you through the float and the actual setup that I'm using as well. Maybe Ben can jump in if there's any bits that I get stuck with. I'm not familiar with some of the ProGen designs. This float is very similar in a lot of ways to like a chimp. It's a is it glass fibre stem?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Really nice thick bristle, probably 3 maybe even 4mm bristle, which is great for days like today because it is a little bit choppy. I'm fishing with the wind into my face. There's a few little waves that's coming over, so this is really good, and it makes it quite clear that you've got a good bite indication. Down the bottom end we've just got a couple of the what are these called?
The
Schlots, which are very similar in a lot of ways to the Stots. Really nice and easy to put on the line, these. Just using a couple of number 8s on this float. And down at the bottom end, one of Ben's favourite hooks. It's a KKMB. This one is a size 14 that was fishing sweet corn on. And unfortunately it's taken the quick stop off whilst in the net as that F1, so I am going to need to tie a new hook link on here to get this rig back in the water. But that is essentially the setup that I'm using today. It is fairly deep down that edge, probably some 4 foot-ish. Got the hook in one hand and the float in the other, so yeah, probably around 4 foot. So yeah, probably a little bit deeper than I would like to be fishing, but it is a fairly deep peg down both edges.
Right, we're recording.
What's the barbel?
There's some irony in that, isn't there?
There is a little bit of irony there. So we're not doing so good for the double at the moment, guys. It's fishing quite tough, and I've just actually hooked a fish now, and it's actually a barbel. It's quite amusing. Oh, mate, not when you haven't got your proper landing net. And he's in. Oh, let's just sit down and get him unhooked. A few pounds. It's a nice fish all the same.
Bigger than some of them front wharf yesterday.
Stay still, double. Stay still, double. He's a bit mad, so I'll try and pick him up, but can't guarantee anything. Just he's absolutely full of beans. Beautiful little fish. It's a nice little torpedo of a fish. Not what we're looking for at the moment, but let's get him back anyway and see if we can continue and try and get that double figure fish. Fingers crossed. Here we go, boys. Into the fish. Got that nicely in shot, hopefully. Fish has gone to the other side of the pond. Don't think it's a double figure. It's definitely going to be £5 or £6, but it just did not look like a double figure when it went. It's got some gusto, like, but little ones tend to, don't they?
Yeah.
He's hooked on the paste, this bad boy. He's gone for a run all the way down, but I saw him roll on them reeds, and to me it looked around the £5 or £6 mark, which is obviously not what we want. We want that double figure fish, but we're still catching, and that's what's important. Matt, if you could just put me another ball of ground bait just down there, that would be fantastic. Straight down where that biscuit's in floor. Well, it's gone that wild, he's obliterated my float. Oh, he's a good fish. He's not a bad fish. I wouldn't say we're double figures, but he's not a bad fish, Matt. I'm just going to put behind the peg, get his head up. Oh, I don't think so.
Not a double, I don't think.
I don't think so. We'll just turn the camera around and we'll have a look. Right, guys, we've got him in the net, in the mat. We already know me and Matt catch a lot of fish. We know he's not going £10, but we reckon about 6 or 7.
This bag, by the way, weighs around £3.
So, yeah, £7.3
Yep.
is what he is. So not a double, but he's nearly there. Still feeding that same ground bait base. And we're into another fish again. Don't think it's a big fish again. No, it's not a big fish. He's going after the snags. I think it's a big fish.
That's just hanging over a chair there near your foot.
Cheers, mate. But he took that paste again. I did see when I've just added, put that in, that there were really big fish down there. So I'm hoping that at some point it can have it. But to be fair, this, I don't think it's a big fish, but it always fit. And it won't let me lift it off bottom, that's for sure. I'm not going to bully it too much. With 8 pound line. Just got to get to these snags. I'm not going to tighten the drag up just yet, but I need to release that little crystal waggler. Another barbel, and it's not a bad barbel, that actually. It's not a bad barbel for a pond, that. No wonder it was fighting so hard. Should have known with it trying to get to the snags. Just gonna have to let the line out of there to able to net him to the nail down. It's a nice fish. Right guys, so another barbel, a little bit bigger than the last one, a little bit chubbier this one, but still again full of beans. That's a beautiful fish. That one must be at least 4 pounds, Matt.
Yeah, easy.
Beautiful, hard fighting fish, pristine condition. Let's get him back in and see if there's any more hanging around there.
Loco, just for 5 minutes, just to try the peg next to Ben. There's a few reeds just down to the left in the margin, where I'd thrown probably just a handful of corn in. Some 15-20 minutes ago, I've come across, plumbed up, had one drop in, and just hooked into this fish. I'm not very well prepared, literally just brought my top kit across with me. I haven't got any extra sections over here, but this elastic, it is pretty forgiving. I am a little bit unsure whether this fish has been foul hooked or not, because when I first hooked into it, it set up like a rocket, which can sometimes be a bit of an indicator. It does feel like a fairly heavy fish, but again, sometimes when you foul hook them, particularly if you get them in the tail, they can feel a lot heavier than what they actually are. Yeah, to release all that elastic and then I'm just taking a run and if I didn't release that elastic, I think that it would have probably done my hook length. I am fishing fairly heavy. I'm fishing to an 0.17 hook length. Brought me some extra sections across which I'm going to use. So this fish is now darted out towards the middle of the lake.
This might be a good fish, this. Have you got any more sections?
Yeah, I think we'll be alright. So it's been hard here at Lindome. I don't know whether the weather conditions today have kind of knocked the fish off the feed a little bit. Also the weather has been very up and down these last few days. We've had a drop in temperature over the last couple of days. The one thing that I don't want to do here is lose this fish if at all possible. So it's currently in towards the next peg. And it's really still giving it some beans. I don't know if you can see. Oh, there we go, it's pulled through.
Oh no. Oh no.
So Ben's just been putting a little bit of feed in at the peg next to where he's been fishing. Had a quick look. You could see that there were fish down there scrubbing, so he's dropped in over the top of it. And pretty much hooked a fish straight away. A little bit unclear just now how big this fish is. Possibly not the double that we're looking for. We've not yet seen the fish, so let's see if we can zoom in and find that float. No, the float is well and truly buried at the moment.
Again, putting more pressure and I can't lift him. So, I've no clue, mate. Couldn't tell you, with these soft action rods.
Yeah.
The drag's not set super slack either. I don't need to get on that side. Just be prepared to let go of that and grab that net. We've got a chance to do it.
picking up some nice swirls.
I just can't lift it. You know when you're up pole and you just get to a certain point,
Yeah.
and you just can't lift it.
I'm just going to go and grab the other net that's a bit bigger. We're into the
one, mate. He's the one.
we're into the final hour. It's now nearly 7:10.
That'll be the one. He's the one.
He's a nice fish.
He's the one. Come on, love.
That's it, keep him coming. He's in.
Oh, he's got to be close.
He is close. Yeah, you're right. Oh, I'm not sure, Ben.
Oh no, I don't know actually. Now he's in there.
Just
So Matt's just getting him in the net. I just think he's under, boys and girls. I think he's under. I can't believe it. We've got less than an hour. I really thought this would a fish. He's going to be set.
I've just zeroed the scale, so you can see on the scales at the moment it's showing £3.2.
Which is the net weight.
That's the weight of the net. So
It's going to be 8.5. I know it is.
let's get him on. We're up.
Oh no! No way! 9, 4, 6 ounce. 3. Oh god. 9.3. He was. All right. Continue we may. Let's get him back. What of the 24 hours this has been. It's a nice fish though. It's not a double. It's not a double, but a nice fish.
There's a timer. Oh, watch must have a different time to my iPhone.
Yeah, good. It's Matt's 8 o'clock alarm going. No, he's still not ready and I'm still not stabbing at him. Going down on the road to the other end. It's not a bad fish though, no? It's just not really it though, isn't it? Looks about £8, I reckon. That great head of fully. It's not a bad fish, mate. It's not a double figures.
No. We're sticking in the scales.
We're sticking in the scales. So I'm just going to unhook the fish and we've zeroed the scales like we did before. We know it's not under. We know it's not £10. But we're going to wait anyway.
See on screen there we're minus 3.3 pounds. That's what this wasteling weighs.
Oh mate, you're not going to believe me. He's 9.4. He's 1 ounce bigger than the one I've just had. So that's oh, it's not. His weight is a bit bigger than that. Stay still. 9.9, mate. Right, guys, we've got to very tired and very annoyed. We're not annoyed, are we?
Frustrated.
We're frustrated, yeah. It's been a really good day.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
24 hours, not a day. I'll give you a quick rundown of my start to finish, and then I'll let Matt give his rundown. So obviously started on the river. I lost one, which I thought was going to beat that £5 mark, and then later on that night managed to sneak one for just over £6, which obviously put me in and us in the running. Matt will go on to his part, and obviously pike wise, I managed to snag one on Matt's rod, and that was obviously over £5 as well, so that was great. And then coming to Lindholm, started off on locos. Amazing pond, just really windy, getting a lot of F1s in the peg as they always follow the wind, so I decided to come on the strip pond, which is at the side of it, and I have caught tons. Carp from 4 to the biggest teasingly being £9 and 3, so just 13 ounces short of the target. I can't complain. I've had a fantastic day, and I've even caught 2 barbel as well on there whilst fishing, probably one of them around £5 as well, so I can't complain. I really thought we were going to do it at the end. I've lost 3 fish which I probably had done double figures, and that's just the name of the game. It's nothing to do with Lindholm, it's just one of those things. Matt?
Yep, great day. Echo everything that you've said in terms of it being an enjoyable day. Really enjoyed it. Something very different, and challenging as well, actually.
Yeah,
so I think
we really had to think, haven't we?
Yeah. Throughout, we've had periods where we've really wondered whether we're going to be able to achieve it or not. Always stayed kind of positive, and you know, unfortunately, we've kind of fallen at the last hurdle. Been so close. So
how big were yours? Just now?
Yeah, had one literally like 1 minute to 8. It didn't feel like it was a double. It didn't put up a great scrap until we finally got it up to the peg, when it started thrashing about a bit, and it weighed in at 9.9. So so close, but yet so far.
So what's that? 7 ounce?
Yeah.
But if we put everything together that we've caught at Lindholm today.
Yeah. So similar to Ben, I've had plenty of fish. You know, I can't grumble about the quality of fishing. We've just been unfortunate, really, that we've not found any of those doubles. We have had what we thought was doubles on. I had one which was probably foul hooked, in all fairness, which I got on strip.
What a big fish that one, eh?
What a big fish. And you know, I'd got the pole at full length. I'd got 14 to 18 elastic that were virtually bottomed out halfway across the lake. And unfortunately it pulled out, so you know, it probably was foul hooked. So yeah, just unfortunate. So yeah, been a really enjoyable day. I hope that you guys enjoy watching the video, maybe learn a couple of things from it, give you some thoughts or ideas for things to try for yourself, and I don't know, maybe even give yourself the challenge. See if you can do it yourself,
doing, isn't it? I mean, when we set it, after we'd set it, we thought we probably made it quite hard.
Yeah.
We've watched a few other people do it who have done. Some have done it, some have managed not to do it, and they've gone for a lot lower weights than we had. So when we saw those weights after we'd already decided, we were a bit worried. To be fair.
Yeah. And ironically, Lindholm is probably the one that we both felt most comfortable achieving.
Yeah. The other two, like river and canal, we were like, this is purely on the weather, and we were lucky. Well, we weren't lucky. We fished well. But
yeah, some irony in the fact that we both caught barbel over £5, we both caught pike over £5, and we both came here, and neither of us caught a carp over £10.
But we both caught a £9.
So, we did. We were close.
Oh God.
We were close.
Well, guys, join us on the Facebook group. We're sure there's going to be quite a buzz and talk about it. Comment below, please. Let us know your thoughts on it. What were your favourite bits? What were your favourite fish that you caught, and anything that you've learnt from it? If you want to suggest any other challenges to us, I'm sure we can try and get that sorted out. Running rapidly out of summer, but I'm sure we'll have a look at doing that for you. Join us on the Instagram if you want to post some pictures. Once the video's up on Friday at 6, we will put the photos on the Instagram. Just don't want to give anything away straight away. But thanks a lot for watching. Well done, Matt.
You too, mate.
It's been a pleasure.
Cheers.
Tight lines.
Cheers, guys.
Isn't it my next bag?
Keep that head up. Keep it up. It's in the net.
Don't tell me it's a bandy rubber. It's a bandy rubble, mate. He is, isn't he?
Yeah.
Right guys, you're not going to probably believe this, but I've had one last drop. Matt's filmed it on his phone. We've just got it in the waist thing, and I believe it potentially could be a double, literally straight after we've finished. So Matt's going to weigh it, and we're going to see if it's painful. So scales are all zeroed. Let's see what she goes, mate. Oh, she is as well. So you can see, £11 for 11.
Unreal.
Oh my God. So you just see there, this is a little bit of bonus footage. So we have achieved it. Hey, just 20 minutes after. How many minutes after?
I don't actually know what time it is.
About 40 minutes after. So while we packed up, we had one last drop and £11 for. All right, guys.